everybody, and we are filming this on June 20th, 2024. Thank you for coming back to another great show. Okay, hot off the presses, y'all. The Gambino family, and I'm so excited because the Mafia has very organically entered into our podcast, and there is nothing more true crime than the Gambino family, and here we are. So let's get into it. Finally, the mob. 17 people were arrested last week for an illegal sports betting ring that is linked to the Gambino family. They were arrested in Staten Island, New York. The ring happened from September 22 to March 2023, and the ring handled $23 million in bets from an offshore betting website. Going along with the ring was the accompanying loan shark situation. Think Sopranos. I mean, this is straight out of the books. The loan sharking scheme had 70 individuals and massive debts. And the loan sharking scheme actually raised $500,000 a week, which is wild. A week, not a month, a week. So allegedly, Gambino associates and foot soldiers were part of the 17. They also had people like 2 retired NYPD officers who were loan sharks. I'm like, oh, come on. Recordings of the conversations helped solicit the arrests as they normally do. I mean, I would say most RICO cases. I don't think this has reached trial yet, so it wouldn't be like a RICO case yet, but really the audio is kind of what gets people most of the time. And there's 84 counts indictment for all 17. An indictment means formal charge or accusations of a serious crime. And the defendants are facing up to 25 years in prison. And with the Mafia's luck, they'll get the maximum penalty, unlike everyone else in New York City. And I can say that because I live there. The next court appearance will be on August 13th. So we'll be following the Gambino family with the alleged gambling ring and the loan sharking. I mean, it really feels like the Sopranos in real life. Olympic swimmers, there's a little ped problem. I'll call it that. 11 swimmers of the 31 swim roster. So like each country, submits a roster for the Olympics. And so 11 of the 31 people on this roster for China, the roster they released that on Tuesday. So they're a part of a doping scandal with just 1-0. So they tested positive for 11 of these 31 people tested positive for a banned heart med, tremetazidine in 2021. This drug is often defined as TMZ, so that's what I'm going to call it from now on for me. It's not prescribed in Europe and the United States, which is kind of interesting. It's generally not like considered the safest. Apparently, allegedly, TMZ, at least in theory, increases blood flow efficiency and improvement and endurance of someone's endurance. So, they tested positive in 2021. So it has been a while, but the test results didn't come to light for 3 years, not until now. So here we are. 23 people overall were found positive in the 2021 tests. And they explained it as meat contamination from the hotel kitchen that they were all staying at. And I'm like, I'm suddenly scared of consuming hotel restaurant food if you got heart meds in there. Oh my gosh. The swimmers were cleared and they participated in the 2021 Olympics because I guess that story made sense to someone. And so 3 of the swimmers on the 2024 swimming team roster also tested positive for a different PED back in 2016, 2017. Obviously it's been a while, but there's a record here And so some people are not thrilled um by this revelation, and also the fact that the results were not released for so long. So we'll keep on top of this one too. Um Pat Hoberg. So this is kind of vague, very MLB of them, because the MLB announced last Friday that it has disciplined Pat Hoberg for violating the league's betting rules. But the discipline is currently undisclosed. He hasn't umpired this season, but that's like only so much evidence. You know, we don't really know what the punishment is. It's unclear what Hoberg. We don't know the discipline. We don't know the crime, alleged crime, because we don't know what he bet on. The MLB did confirm that he didn't bet on games he umpired at, so that's nice. And Hoberg denies the claims and appealed the discipline, and he said he didn't bet on baseball. So that is about as clear as mud. But once we get some clarity on that, we will bring it to you. Okay, this is wild. The Euro 2024 tournament match mayhem is what I'm calling it. Because this is a name I never thought I'd be bringing up in this podcast. Allegedly, ISIS called for attacks at various locations where Euro 2024 matches were happening at. Specifically places in Germany, and they also mentioned harming Real Madrid players during the Olympics. Spanish police have stepped in and they made nationwide arrests after discovering a multimedia service that was a mouthpiece, so to speak, for terrorists that the calls to attack were transmitted with. So they have sort of cut the communication and then also arrested people. So that's freaking terrifying, by the way. And then on Sunday, there was a huge brawl between the Serbian and English fans in Germany. I'm sort of unfamiliar, apparently, with the lack of appreciation for other countries in Europe, but there's a recap of two teams who were not even Serbians, and they were chanting ending the lives of Serbians. So I'm thinking, was it the Bulgarian game? I'm not sure, but it was odd to me because the Serbians weren't specifically there, and I'm not used to such like ethnic based animosity, I guess. I mean, not that America doesn't have its own problems, but I couldn't really imagine like wishing ill on a group of people because of where they come from. But anyway, okay. So there's a huge brawl between the Serbians. So Serbia apparently is not a whole lot of people's favorites during the Euro 2024 tournament. So again, Serbia, English, and Germany. Serbian and English fans in Germany. There's 150 people went ham when a group of Serbians were eating in a restaurant, and then the English fans showed up. And they tried to eat there too, and it's like, okay, if you don't like a group of people, then why are you trying to like pile into this restaurant? How big is a restaurant? Because it was like already a really big group of Serbians. It was like 70 of them or something. Like, maybe try a different anyway. So the English fans tried to enter, and it caused a brawl. So 7 Serbians and 1 Englishman were arrested. And there were severe injuries, including to police officers. The police said that they weren't trying to target Serbians. It was just like what the people that they had specific evidence of doing things with like cameras, and because you can't necessarily like they had more evidence for these 8 individuals. So I don't know, but the 8 people are banned from the stadium and may face further restrictions related to the tournament. So there's that lovely nightmare in Germany. But at least even if there was like some pretty bad injuries, everybody's safe, and that's a relief. Mike Brumley here, rest in peace. because 61-year-old Mike Brumley passed away over the weekend in a super tragic accident. Brumley played 8 seasons in the MLB for Seattle, Chicago, and Atlanta, and then went on to coach baseball, also like at the MLB level. Mike Brumley's dad, also named Mike. No, I didn't see a junior or a senior, but anyway, played in the MLB, making this guy right here, 61-year-old Mike, second gen in the MLB, so that's cool. Brumley, unfortunately, he passed away in Edwards, Mississippi, 30 miles from Jackson, if you're familiar with the area. And he died in a multi-car crash involving two 18-wheelers and three cars at 7 p.m. on Saturday. For people in that area, it was just before the I-20 eastbound Edwards exit in Hinds County. So Brumley was a passenger in one of the cars and was pronounced dead at the scene. The Mississippi Highway Patrol is still investigating the crash. Super tragic and sad. I know a lot of players are talking about how important he was to their careers and to baseball, both as a coach and a player, and his family is grieving in a very untimely, shocking accident when he was still quite young and healthy. So rest in peace, Brumley. Sean McDonough in a more upbeat segment that feels inappropriate at the moment. We'll discuss Sean McDonough's hockey announcing job in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So it has, what caught my attention in the headlines was it has been described as a performance coming from the worst hockey announcer, and was also called a crime against humanity. And we are all about talking about crimes against humanity here. So apparently Sean McDonough's coverage of this game was so awful that it was a crime against humanity. Sound off below if you heard him and felt like a crime has been committed against you. So allegedly, illness that was sort of lingering that kept him from announcing Game 2 also affected him quite a bit in Game 3 and contributed to the lack of energy in his overall blandness, is one word I've heard described. McDonough felt stung by the criticism and it bothered him. And he's like, I was trying to do my best, basically, and he doesn't appreciate people saying that he's a living, walking crime against humanity in the recording booth. So I can get that. A different crime than most that we cover, but here we are. During the NBA Finals game, there's some arrests. The Boston police arrested 8 people after things got a little too festive after the Celtics won on Monday night. 6 men and 2 minor males were arrested. The charges ran from disorderly conduct to assault and battery of an officer. There was mosh pits, people climbing streetlights for better views, people burning a Kyrie Irving jersey, and they were setting off fireworks in the streets. So, that's wild. That's wild. Okay, Cameron Payne, who was arrested early last Friday morning, as in 2:45 a.m. in Scottsdale, Arizona. This one is about as vague as the Hoburg story because 2 people were present when the officers arrived, and Payne was arrested on 2 charges, refusing to provide a truthful name. That could either mean he wouldn't give a name or he gave the wrong one. It could mean either, and giving a false report to law enforcement. He was released on his own recognizance, but he's still facing those charges. We have no idea why. Hopefully they can flesh that out a little bit. Typically, those kind of charges don't hold like a lot of jail time, though. Like, oh, okay, Matt Araiza. So, Araiza is the chief solo punter as he makes his second chance at getting in the NFL. So that's nice that he's getting a second chance, because part of talking about true crime and the justice system and how it works is that when someone is no longer found guilty or included in a lawsuit, in this instance for a really awful crime, it is, if they have been no longer held responsible for that, it is our job to then give them the benefit of the doubt and, continue to move on, not punish him for something that we don't have evidence that he did. And that's easier said than done, but in theory, that is how it's supposed to happen. Orazio was dropped from a lawsuit by a woman who said she was raped by different San Diego State University football players in 2021 when she was 17. That included Orazio. The San Diego DA did not file criminal charges related to the incident, and the investigation found Ariza did no wrongdoings. So I think she was going the civil route, and then he was dropped from the lawsuit because my guess is there wasn't enough evidence. This debacle resulted in him being dropped by the Buffalo Bills, who drafted him in 2022 before even playing a snap, because as soon as they caught word of the alleged gang rap, they were like, we're out of here. So he got kicked out. But he's getting a second chance, and so we'll see what he does with the Chiefs. um I will never turn down an opportunity to bring up Spygate. It brings me joy. So Brady entered the Fox Sports booth for the first time for the UFL championship. We'll be seeing him in the Fox Sports booth quite a bit more, but this was his first go. He was booed by St. Louis fans in St. Louis, where the game was held due to them not forgetting Spygate. Brady gave UFL MVP Adrian Martinez his trophy, and that really ignited the naysayers. And they really started booing at him during that, which unfortunate for Martinez, but there's consequences. Okay, because 2002 wasn't long ago, folks, especially for Rams fans. So, love the crossover. Okay, Keith Wright. Wright's name has come up recently in news, so let's discuss him. I'm not sure why he started making a resurgence, but he has, and so we're going to talk about it. The former NFL player was sentenced to 234 years of jail in 2012. Wright had robbed 3 houses in 2011, and the robberies were described as extremely violent and inciting terror. They were all armed. In one, he made uh, a victim drive him to a bank to get money, and in another, he essayed a woman at the house that he robbed. So he's allocated 114 years of prison for those crimes, and an additional 120 years for just the total of having 19 felonies that all seem to surround the robberies. So it seems like the some of the charges were related to some of the time was related to specific incidents, but then having a culmination of so many charges, I guess, is what earned him that additional time. He was sentenced to 240 years at 32 years old. Wright did break one record, the most jail time for any athlete in professional sports history. The closest behind him was a 160-year sentence. So he's got him beat by about 70 years. So, and this guy, Jerry Sandusky. Oh, man. Okay. Former Penn State coach Jerry Sandusky is attempting to get a new trial due to they're bringing up the fact that there's hypnosis used to bring up repressed memories, and his I can say victims. I'm so tempted to always say alleged, but he was tried for this, and until he gets a new trial that says that he's not guilty, he has assumed guilty since he has been found criminally liable. So anyway, I have heard from psychologists, and I will say this with no level of certainty since I'm not one, that hypnosis is not generally considered like a coercion. There was an issue back in the day of repressed memory therapy, that had some children talking about events that didn't happen. But these kids were a little older, and hypnosis is just generally not considered a way of, it's not quite how all the repressed memory scandals of the 80s happened, but I mean maybe I'm there. I mean, who knows? Hearing on this case has been scheduled for June 26th, so we will see um if there's any credence to his thought process for a new trial. Of course, there are 45 counts of SA to children, so I find it hard to believe that they hypnotized all 45 or all of the individuals, but who knows? He was sentenced 30 to 60 years in prison with a 44K restitution. And Penn State themselves paid more than 100 million to over 30 alleged victims of Sandusky. In this case, I will say alleged because I'm not sure that all of them were also in the court case, so some of them may not have been he may not have been held criminally liable for. So Sandusky is still proclaiming his innocence 12 years after his sentencing at 80 years old. And his wife also believes in his innocence and stood by his side for 12 years. I'm going to say that that reflects more poorly on her than it is a plus for Jerry, but, the boost took place between 1994 and 2009 and ranged from grooming to violent attacks. He utilized his role as the founder of a charity that was supposed to help at-risk youth. Yeah, he used that role to find his victims, and I'm not going to talk anymore about this because I'm going to start saying things that are not that are better left unsaid. All right, so we have some updates on the Malaysian acid attack. Faisal Halim has come out publicly about his acid attack. There are photos and videos, but I would just say look at your own risk because he still has visually healing acid burns on his body, including on his face and head. And if that's triggering to you or whatever, I just want to give you a heads up. But I'm very proud of him for coming out, and I'm glad to see that he's okay. On June 13th, he made a public statement saying, "I don't know if I can return to football or not. I just hope people can pray for my return to the soccer arena. I want to continue living my life normally like other people, like other players. I hope the perpetrators can be caught as soon as possible and charged in court. I'd rather lose thousands of dollars than stop playing football if I can be safe, if my family can be safe. But the support and prayers from the public have given me the strength to continue." It's very sweet. We got your back, Faisal Halim. It was an awful incident, and we're so glad that you're doing so much better. And we're so sorry that this happened to you. So keep up the good spirits, keep up the hard work that you've done physically to get as far as you have in the time that you have. Congrats. Okay, Luis Rubiales. Rubiales has a court date for his alleged assault of Jenny Hermoso. He will be in Spain's High Court in Madrid from February 3rd to the 19th in 2025. So keep an eye out for that. All right. We have some wild golf crimes again. I am so serious. Golf is the most wild sport. I am convinced you cannot tell me otherwise. And I have 3 recent incidences to support this. Okay, so first story was Spokane man. It is pronounced Spokane for all the not Washington natives. Okay. James Christie was located by police without his pants on, allegedly drunk and yelling at a pile of glass curled up in a ball after breaking into the Windermere golf course Monday morning. It's also believed that Christie was the person responsible for 2 bottles of whiskey, now mostly empty, being taken from the bar. James broke multiple windows and created $5,000 of damage for his shenanigans. Christie had previously trespassed onto the course a couple of months previous. He's 55 and he appears to still be receiving treatment at the hospital as of Tuesday night. This case is small enough that we might not get an update on that, but after he is discharged, he will be charged with the relevant charges for the incident. So crazy. Okay. Crazy situation. So number 2, a 52-year-old woman was taken into custody in Japan for allegedly killing her husband with a golf club, y'all. Miho Yoshitake called her husband Makoto Yoshitake Yoshitake's parents, who arrived at the home on Monday at 9:15 p.m. and found their son bleeding from his head in the bathroom. Um, yeah, so she struck him in the head with a golf club. He was bleeding out in the bathroom. She called his parents. His parents got there, called the emergency services, and then he was pronounced dead from the hospital. Miho told police that he struck her first, and she didn't have injuries consistent with that claim on her head. And then she said murdering him was an accident, and it wasn't her intention to actually kill him. She was just sort of striking back. The couple's adult son said they had been arguing all day, and it appears that the couple may have had a documented history of DV. So wild. And number 3 is bear wear. If you live in Louisville, Colorado, because a brown bear was near the Coal Creek Golf Course around 11 a.m. before ambling off. Police said this is typical for spring in Louisville and advised to give the bear plenty of space and clean out your garbage cans, damn it. It's not just humans you have to keep an eye out for when you're on the course. You also need to keep an eye out for the bears. So, okay, so Adam Johnson, so we're gonna take the positivity that we've gotten from Cute Wildlife and we're gonna switch to scholarships for kids. We love that too. Just not what the organization that Sandusky found. But anyway, okay, so a Minnesota youth hockey camp where Adam Johnson attended and worked at in the Duluth area in Minnesota, they are doing a scholarship. So the idea originally came from Johnson's family as a way to honor Adam, which is super sweet. The Memorial Fund will help pay for the enrollment of a hockey player youth who wouldn't normally be able to attend this summer. So the Memorial Fund, Adam Johnson's Memorial Fund, is partially covering, and the other part is going to be covered by other people for the enrollment of a player who wouldn't normally be able to go to a hockey camp who now can. So that is very sweet, and we love that, and what an honor. And it's always important to focus on the victims and their families. All right. Delonte West. We talked about Delonte being arrested last week for running from the cops, tried to serve him with a warrant, and his almost getting Narcan twice and it working the second time, which is wild. He was supposed to appear in court last Friday, and he had a $2,000 bond. He must have paid the bond because he was seen stumbling around a parking lot and didn't look well in Fairfax, Virginia. It was either Thursday or Friday, so let's hope that he actually made it to court. But it still seems like he's struggling on the streets quite a bit. All right, Jontay Porter. The criminal investigation surrounding the whole betting scandal that Jontay Porter was involved in, he hasn't been charged with anything, but the scandal surrounding that. Some of the betting scandal may have occurred in Canada when Porter played for the Raptors, so the Canadian police are now looking into that. There's a really great article about that on the Forkball, so feel free to look at that. But we're going international, baby. There could be some Canada action going. Okay, and this is super sad, but we're going to talk about Darius Morris and his cause of death because we didn't know until recently. 33-year-old Morris's cause of death has been revealed. He died of coronary artery atherosclerosis disease. Coronary artery atherosclerosis means that his arteries and his heart hardened due to a buildup of plaque, which can it makes the arteries really hard, and it can stop the blood flow from going very well or at all. And so CAD, coronary artery disease or atherosclerosis, is responsible for 80% of heart attacks and can affect people of any age, which I thought was kind of shocking since he's so young. On the death report, alcohol, cocaine, and a prescription pain medicine were listed as contributing factors to his demise. And he played basketball most recently in 2019 and 2020 season internationally. So I was surprised because you often associate coronary artery disease with like people who aren't fit, usually older, people who maybe don't have a super active lifestyle, but I wouldn't really associate it with a man who's so young and still like relatively recently has played a professional sport, which requires quite the physical fitness. So I guess it's just a lesson to us all that everybody needs to focus on their heart health. And RIP Darius. I mean, how awful. Okay, we're in football. Randy Gregory. So what does Sean Payton have to say about the Randy Gregory lawsuit? That the lawsuit where he's suing the Broncos and the NFL? Um, he said, "Listen, I'm aware of what's written in the lawsuit, but it was nothing I had to deal with directly at all. It's more of a league issue than a Broncos issue. It was nothing that I have ever dealt with." And you know what I think about that? That is a head coach at work right there and staying on top of his players. Okay. He knows everything that's going on. That's what I'm getting from that message there. Cool. Okay, Rashee Rice. Um, so I thought this was sweet, and Lord have mercy. We need sweet things. The Karen Reed trial is blowing my mind. True crime is a vicious place. So if we can just focus on some positivity, we are gonna do that. Okay. So Rice commented on a slideshow on Instagram of Caitlin Clark's. He commented a fire emoji followed by a fingers crossed emoji. And most fans appreciated that there's athlete camaraderie, intersport athlete camaraderie, which is or not intersport, intrasport. Um, and then other people lashed out at Rice and targeted insults about his recent legal woes. And I guess you can't please everyone, but I thought it was really nice. And Isaiah Buggs is arrested again when it rains it pours. Buggs was arrested early Monday morning for allegedly breaking into the home of the mother of his child around 5:30 a.m. He allegedly drug her down the stairs and then he fled from the house. She called the police and Buggs was arrested at a nearby business parking lot. And according to the reports, the woman had scratches on her wrists and her like press-on toenails were broken off, which sound like takes some force, okay, because they make those to stay on. How terrifying. I would prefer not to wake up that way, thank you. And I think most everybody else wouldn't either. So, that's another incident for Buggs. Holy hell. Okay. Jerry Jones. Things are not going well with Sunday Ticket class action lawsuit. The lawyering skills are not up to snuff, according to the judge, who says that the premise of the case is simple, like fans overpaying, not getting the games they deserve. But then the judge also admonished the attorneys representing the prescribers that they turned it into 25 hours of deposition and gobbledygook, and said the case is going in a direction it shouldn't have gone. And I'm like, can this judge make a similar speech to the prosecution of the Karen Reed trial, please? Yeah, judges are usually super like professional and buttoned up, so saying things like gobbledygook is like in normal people language, and regular world language would be probably like some expletive. So very serious, okay? Um yeah, anyway, so Jones testified on Monday and Tuesday in support for Sunday Ticket and had shady comments for the Bengals saying, "I'm convinced I would make a lot more money than the Bengals. I'm completely against each team doing TV deals. It is flawed." I'm like, is that really the only two options? It's either Sunday Ticket or every team has to do their. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Um, Individual teams. Right. Okay. Anyway, Goodell was also testifying in the trial for hours with his peppy, optimistic takes on his premium product. I mean, we can all hear him saying that, right? And appears to allude to not hearing that it was too costly that often, although I'm pretty sure that was a chief complaint, but we already know that Goodell picks and chooses what he hears anyway. He also heralded how pro-consumer the NFL is, and the effort that they have to offer games to the broadest audience possible for free, except for the fact that almost nobody uses cable TV anymore. And if you're trying to appeal to a younger audience, those efforts are not helpful. So cool story, bro. And he thinks that things like Sunday Ticket have found ways to build our fan base. So that's nice. We'll keep on top of that lawsuit. All right, Tyreek Hill, this is fine. He's been beat by the woman and a kid already recently, like on the football field during his little practice drills. He had that one camp where the kid kicked his can, and then that woman came with her son to like his house or a camp at his, I don't know, but she played and she also went up to him. You know, the lady said that he broke her leg, allegedly. So, it just makes sense that he gets shut out by another kid. At a summer youth football camp in Rochester, New York, a kid was in the receiving role while there's a one-on-one defense by Hill. He was able to escape Hill's one-on-one defense and with his footwork alone, and he made a TD. And it was just funny to see Hill getting shown out by another child in addition to, so now it's two children and a woman. And I know that it made him so mad before that I just thought I'd bring it up again because I appreciate that. Okay. The KC parade shootings. There's an issue because none of the $2 million raised for victims of the KC parade shootings has been given out at all to anybody, leaving people ask where the money is. Which makes a lot of sense. Where is the money in KC? And one of the adults charged, Lindell Mays, has a trial date set on September 29th, 2025. So that's the first one up. That's the first one that we know of. I know one of the children is being charged as a child, so we probably won't get as much detail or any about what that turns out to be. But now at least one of the adults, I think there's three, we have a court date, so that's nice. And then our last two, Antonio Brown, and he's targeting an entire group of women instead of individually. Less work for more fulfillment for AB. He referred to the WNBA as just a charity for lesbians. In reference to the $50 million loss for the 2024 season. Allegedly, the WNBA has been losing 10 million a year since it was established in 1997, so this is just a continuation. And then people like AB are bullying the one woman who attracts views, which I think is just ironic. But, you know, more profound words from AB. All right. Jon Gruden. So apparently, allegedly, Gruden is offensive in more than just emails. So that's an awakening that none of us really needed. So allegedly, Javon Holland, he's currently a safety, I believe, for the Miami Dolphins. He got asked an inappropriate question by Gruden in 2021, according to his father, who spoke on the DolphinsTalk.com podcast. Javon's father, Jay Roberts, says that Vegas really wanted his son and called him every day for a week. However, Gruden reportedly asked, "Hey, are you going to change your name to Malcolm X when you get into the league?" This is allegedly reacting to, I guess in college, Javon, or at least Javon felt this was in reaction to his like outspoken advocacy in his college days. Javon's father recalls jumping up angrily as soon as he heard that come out of Gruden's mouth, which, like, yes. And then Javon waved him off, saying he could handle it. And then Javon answered Gruden by saying, "And listen, I use my platform to speak for those people who can't speak, and I'm only speaking for good. And if I'm not the kind of guy who you perceive as speaking for good or doing something wrong, maybe I shouldn't be a part of your organization." And then he dropped the mic, hanging that phone up. Wholesome like the Bear and the Scholarship to finish out the podcast. We love that for Javon. We don't love that for Gruden, but let's just focus on the positive for this one. And I'm very happy that Javon still has a great active participation in the NFL and that he felt so comfortable advocating for people and that he still continues to want to. Ugh. Cue the goat scream. We are out this week. We are done. True crime can be a lot sometimes, right? Okay. Again, next week we're gonna have a special filming. And then after that, we will we're gonna have a special filming next week. And then I will be checking in with you all the following week. Okay, have a great day. Bye.